Good morning, class. Today in math, we are completing lesson 1.3, and we are going to talk about estimating sums. So your essential question is, how can you use compatible numbers and rounding to estimate sums? Every time you hear the word compatible numbers and estimating, I want you to think of rounding. Okay, that's what we're doing. So all I want to look at on this page is your vocabulary. So estimate is highlighted in yellow, which means it is one of your vocabulary words. You can estimate to find about how many or about how much. An estimate is a number close to an exact amount. Remember, when you see the word estimate, I want you to think rounding. Okay? This is what I want you to think about. If you're estimating, think about rounding, okay? Because you're not getting an exact answer, you're getting an about. So anytime in a question you see the words about how many or about how much, you know you're going to estimate, which means you're rounding, okay? Same thing with compatible numbers. Compatible numbers are numbers that are easy to compute mentally and are close to the real numbers. Doesn't that sound very familiar? They're close to the real numbers. They're easy to do mental math with. Compatible numbers, you also are going to think about rounding, okay? When you see compatible numbers, when you see estimate, rounding. Okay, I want you to get that in your head. Don't get confused by all these different terms. Okay, we're going to be rounding to find about how many, about how much. All right, I'm actually going to put the math book to the side, and we are going to practice this with some subtraction problems. Okay, so the only thing that we're going to do on this practice page is we are going to practice rounding to come up with an estimation. All right, and then I'm going to go back to our workbook where we're going to practice this with addition. So it's always important, read your directions. We're going to round each number to the nearest 10 first. And we're going to subtract to find the estimate. So they've done number 1 for you. All right, so you can see the handwritten number here. So they rounded 243 to 240 and 213 to 210, and they subtracted and got 30. So that means the real answer should be about 30. Okay, this is how they got their estimation. So we're going to do the same thing with number 2. We're rounding to the nearest 10, so let's find the number in the tens place. Okay, this is the ones, this is the tens. So I know 8 is in the tens place, so I've underlined it. Remember, I'm going to look to the neighbor to the right, which is 9. Is 9 greater than or less than 5? It is greater than. So 5 or more, you raise the score. So that means that the 8 is going to change to a 9 because I'm raising it by 1. I don't do anything with the hundreds because I'm not rounding to the nearest 100. I'm rounding to the nearest 10. So my 4 is going to stay the same. My 8 is going to increase by 1. And everything after this place value we're rounding to changes to 0. So 489 rounded to the nearest 10 is 490. 307 rounded to the nearest 10. Find your tens place, which is 0. Look to its neighbor to the right, 7. 7 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So that means my 1 is going to increase by 1, or my 0, sorry, is going to increase by 1. So my 100 stays the same. My 0 goes up by 1, so it's now 1. And everything after that place value turns to 0. So now I have compatible or friendly numbers from my rounding. Okay, these are just easy numbers to compute. 0 minus 0, 0. 9 minus 1, 8. 4 minus 3, 7. This is not the actual answer, This is my estimation. So I'm estimating that my answer is going to be about 780. Okay? Moving forward. 110. We're going to round this number to the nearest 10. This is already on a 10, but we're going to do it anyway just to show you. Find the number in the tens place. Look to its neighbor to the right. 0 is less than 5, so you don't change anything. So I've got 100, and the 0, or the number after the place value that we're rounding to, changes to 0. It's already 0, so this number doesn't change. Down here, find the place value we're rounding to. It's tens. Underline it. Look to the neighbor to the right. 6. 6 is greater than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So that means my 0 is going to go up to 1, and everything after that place value goes to 0. Look at that. They're the same number. So that means 0 minus 0 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So our estimation is that our answer is going to be close to 0. Look at number 4. 697. Find the tens place, underline it. Look to the neighbor to the right. 7. 7 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So that means 9 is going to go up. Wait a minute. If 9 goes up 1, that's 10. So what do I do? Well, just like when you're adding and subtracting, you can't put two numbers in that place value. It carries over to the next place value. So my 6 is actually going to become a 7 in this case. If you think about it, if you're in the 90s, the next place up is going to be 100. So I'm actually going to increase my 100 by 1, and my 9 is a 0. Think of it like this. 9 is increasing by 1, making it 10. And if I add these on, 6 plus 1 is 7, 0, and that stays 0, I'm good to go. Every number after that place value turns to 0. 361, find the place value you're rounding to. 6, look to the number to the right. 1, 1 is less than 5, so 6 is not going to change. So I have 360, because everything after that place value turns to 0. So when I subtract, I'm going to have to do a little regrouping here. We will review that soon. 10 minus 6 is 4. 6 minus 3 is 3. So this is our estimation that our answer is going to be about 340. Okay. Now, I'm going to move back to the book where we can work on addition. I will attach these PDFs, or this PDF, so you can practice at home, but you do not have to turn it in. Actually, I want to show you one more. Sometimes you will round to the nearest 100. You just have to look at your directions. And sometimes you'll get to choose whether you're rounding to the nearest 10 or 100. So here, our directions say round each number to the nearest 100. And this was done for us here. So let's look at the next one. 356. Rounding to the nearest 100, so I need to find the hundreds place. Boom. There it is. So my hundreds place is 3. I'm going to look to my neighbor to the right. 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So that tells me my 3 needs to go up by 1, which has become 4. And we know that every number after the place value we're rounding is going to turn to 0. 235, find that hundreds place, underline it. Go to the neighbor to the right. 3 is less than 5, so my 2 is going to stay the same. And every number after that place value turns to 0. 400 minus 200 is 200. When you're rounding to hundreds, it's a little bit easier to do your estimation with mental math. So, our estimation is saying that we predict that the answer to this problem is going to be about 200. All right, 449, find the hundreds place. Look to the neighbor to the right. 4 is less than 5, so my number's not going to change. So I'm going to write 4. Everything after that place value turns to 0. Look to the next number, find the hundreds place, boom. Find its neighbor to the right. 9 is greater than 5, 5 or more, raise the score, so that means I need to raise this number by 1. So my 1 becomes a 2, and everything after that place value becomes a 0. Okay, and again, 400 minus 200 is 200. Now, if you're rounding to the nearest 10, your estimation is going to be more accurate and closer to your actual answer than if you're rounding to the nearest 100. But you can do it either way. All right, one more. 539. Find your number in the hundreds place. Look to the neighbor to the right. 3. 3 is less than 5, so I know that my number is not going to change. 5, everything after turns to 0. Find your hundreds place. Look to the neighbor to the right. 3. Same thing. My number is not going to change. 5, everything to the right turns to 0. So we're estimating this answer is actually going to be close to 0. Okay. Now, I know you didn't have those problems in front of you, but you do have your math book. So I want you to find page 19. I'm going to tear it out. Okay, it's page 19, as you can see right here. Okay, so now this is going to be estimating for addition problems. Now, again, when you see all these big words, compatible numbers, estimate, I want you to think of rounding, okay? Now, if you notice with these directions, they don't give you specific directions on whether they want you to round to the nearest 10 or to round to the nearest 100. So I'm going to do sum to the nearest 10, and I'm going to do sum to the nearest 100. Here we go. This first one, let's do it to the nearest 10. So I'm going to find the tens place, and then I'm going to look to its neighbor to the right. 8. 8 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So my 2 is going to change to 3, and my 4 remains the same. So 4, 3, and everything after that place value turns to 0. Find your tens place, boom. Find its neighbor to the right. 6 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So my 8 is going to raise by 1, which makes it 9. So I have 2, 9, and everything else goes to 0. Now I'm going to add my numbers. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 9 is 12. Put my 1 here, my 2 here. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. So we're estimating that this answer is going to be close to or about 720. So now I'm going to switch colors. Let's find the actual answer. 8 plus 6 is 14. Carry my 1, 4. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 8 is 11. 1 here, 1 here. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. Look how close that is. 714 to 720. So this is our estimation, and this is our actual answer. Okay? Pretty close. All right, look at number 2. We're going to continue with rounding to the nearest 10. Something I want to point out is that I hope you're noticing that I am rounding to find my estimation first. Then I am solving the problem. And you might say, why? What is the point of that? So the point of that is that if you round to find your estimated answer, and then you solve, and your answer is nowhere near your estimation, then you know you've made a mistake somewhere. And you have to go back and check your work and figure out what's wrong. So estimating helps you make sure that you're completing your work correctly and not making errors anywhere. Okay, it's a checks system to help you check your work. So you always want to estimate first, then you can go solve the actual problem. So let's round to the nearest 10. 65, find your number in the tens place. Boom. Look to the neighbor to the right. 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So my 6 goes to 7, and everything after turns to 0. 23, find your tens place. Find your neighbor to the right. 3 is less than 5, so my 2 stays the same. And everything after turns to 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 2 is 9. So my estimation is that my answer will be about 90. Let's see. 5 plus 3, 8. 6 plus 2, 8. My real answer is 88, and it is very close to my estimation of 90. So I know I am correct. Excuse me. 421, 218. Let's round to the nearest 10. Find your tens place. Look to your neighbor to the right. 1. 1 is less than 5, so my number stays the same. So 4, 2, and everything after that place value turns to 0. 218, find the tens. Look to the number to the right. 8 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score, so my 1 is going to go up to a 2. So I have 200, and then I have a 2, and everything after turns to 0. Okay, there's my rounded numbers. Now I'm going to add them up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So I'm estimating that my answer is going to be about 640. Now let's find the actual answer. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 2 is 6. Look how close my real answer is to my estimation. Very close. Now, what I'm going to do is let's round this one to the nearest 100. Okay? It's fine to round to the nearest 100, but I want to show you that usually if you're rounding to the nearest 10, your estimation is going to be much closer to your answer than if you're rounding to the nearest 100. So let's see. 369 rounded to the nearest 100. Find your number in the hundreds place because that's what we're rounding to. Look to the neighbor to the right. 6, 6 or more, or 5 or more, you raise the score. So my 3 is going to go up by 1. 4. Everything after that place value turns to 0. 480, that's already rounded to the nearest 10, but we want to round it to the nearest 100. So find your hundreds place. Look to the neighbor to the right. 8. 8 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score. So my 4 needs to go up to 5. Everything after it goes to 0. Now I'm going to add it up. 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 4 plus 5 is 9. So my estimation is that my answer is going to be about 900. Let's see how accurate we are. 9 plus 0 is 9. 6 plus 8 is 14. So my 1 up here, my 4 here. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 849. So it's close, but if I had rounded to the nearest 10, I would have been much closer to my actual answer, okay? Because 849 rounded to the nearest 100 is not going to be 900. Now, let me grab a different color. If I rounded to the nearest 10, watch this, then this would be 370, and this would stay 480. And 0 plus 0 is 0, okay? And then you have 7 plus 8, which is 15. And then 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 4, 850, which is much closer. So you see, if you round by tens to get your estimation is going to be much more accurate. It's going to be much closer to your actual answer. You can round by hundreds, but it won't be as close, okay? All right, let's go down to number 5. Now, on number 5, I want you to go ahead and round these numbers to the nearest 10 and add them up, and then stop and wait. Okay, let's see if we get the same thing. So I went to round 19 to the nearest 10, so I'm going to look at the number in the tens place. Then I'm going to look to the neighbor to the right, and it's 9. 9 is more than 5. 5 or more, and you raise the score. So my 1 is going to turn into a 2, and everything after it will be a 0. 54, find the tens place. Find the neighbor to the right. 4. 4 is less than 5, so that means that my number is going to stay the same. So it's still 5, and everything after turns to 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 5 is 7. So we are estimating that our answer is going to be about 70. Now go ahead and solve for the actual answer and see if you get it close to 70. Okay, so 9 plus 4, hopefully you got 13. You put your 1 up here, 3 down here. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 73 is your actual answer, and it is very close to your estimation of 70. Good job. Go to number 6, and I want you to go ahead and round each of these numbers to the nearest 10 and solve for your estimation. Okay, so I'm going to round 39 to the nearest 10 and find the number in the tens place. Look to the neighbor to the right. It's 9. 9 is more than 5. 5 or more, I raise the score, so my 3 is going to turn into a 4, and everything after that is 0. 42, find the tens place. Boom. Find the neighbor to the right. Boom. 2 is less than 5, so my number is going to stay the same. So it's 4, and everything after that place value turns to 0. So my estimation is that our answer is going to be about 80. So go ahead and solve for the actual answer to this problem, and then we'll check our work. Okay. 9 plus 2 is 11. So you should have a 1 here and a 1 here. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So our actual answer is 81, which is very close to our estimation of 80. Very good. Okay, look at this problem. Let's go ahead and let's actually round this to the nearest 10 as well. Okay, so make sure you find those tens places. I want you to round each number to the nearest 10 and add it up to get your estimation. Okay, so 327, I'm rounding to the nearest 10, so I've got my tens place underlined. Look to my neighbor to the right. 7 is more than 5. 5 or more, you raise the score, so I know my 2 is going to increase to 3. So I have 300, right? And then my 2 changes to a 3, and everything after changes to a 0. 581, look to my neighbor to the right. 1 is less than 5, so that means my number doesn't change. So I have 5 in the hundreds, 8 in the tens place, and everything after the tens changes to 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 8 is 11. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. So I'm estimating that my answer is going to be about 910. Now go and find the actual answer and see how close you are. All right. 7 plus 1 is 8. 2 plus 8 is 10, so carry my 1, 0. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. Look how close our actual answer is to our estimation. Good job. All right, I'm just going to go over something on your assignment page really quick. Again, your assignment is all online, but it's the same problems as you have on this workbook page. And for some of you, it might be easier to solve them on this workbook page and then enter your answers online. And I completely support that. But I want you to notice, it again says use rounding or compatible numbers to estimate sums. You're rounding. Ignore this compatible numbers direction. You're just rounding. It doesn't tell you whether to round to the nearest 10 or to round to the nearest 100. I think that you should do whichever you are more comfortable with. Or if you want to do both and do some to the nearest 10 and some to the nearest 100, that's great. If you have a problem like this, where they are two-digit numbers, those you need to round to the nearest 10, okay? If you have two-digit numbers, there's no number in the hundreds place, you shouldn't be rounding to the nearest 100. I want you to round to the nearest 10. But if you have a three-digit problem, then you can decide if you want to round to the nearest 100 or round to the nearest 10. It is your choice. But I want you to remember, you need to round each number first and solve to get your estimation. Then you can solve your actual problem. Don't even pay attention to this. Here they did compatible numbers. We're not doing that. We're just rounding. So don't even look at that. You are rounding. Okay? All right. I hope you have fun. Go do your assignment on Think Central. Bye.